Good morning, everybody. I am Captain Tommy Scoble, and you were on the lifeboat. I hope you're having a good day. It is Thursday, the last day of the month of August, the year of our Lord 2023. Hope everybody's doing okay. So this is going to be a good one, people, because this is something that this is something that everybody relates to. Every time I talk to anybody that's in recovery, this is one of those things that people all seem to relate to. And the question is, are you different? Do you think you're different than other people? And that you take that any way you want. Do you think you're different? Do you think you're special? Not quite like other people? This is something that I think addicts probably struggle with as much as anybody else. I think everybody kind of thinks that they, man, I was born for more than this. You know what I mean? Like I should have been a this, or I should have been a that, or, there are a lot of people that, they leave a little something out there and it bums them out or whatever. But have you ever noticed that some of the most interesting people you've ever talked to in your entire life are drug addicts or, addicted to drugs or alcohol? Some of the most interesting people you will ever meet in your entire life. And if you think about that, it makes a crap load of sense, doesn't it? Think about it. If you go to school and you do everything right, you get through, 4 years of college. Maybe you go on to a little postgraduate work, whatever. Then you start to go do, work at a job. Then you run into somebody that for 25 or 30 years since the last time you saw him in high school, this person has just been going hard, right? Literally just going all over the world, doing drugs, breaking the law. One of them is going to have a far more interesting story than the other. The things that people do very often can, not always, but can dictate stories that tend to be a little bit more interesting. I did a show the other day and I said, I'm that guy, right? I could do a 2-hour show and call it That Guy, because I'm that guy. And what I meant by that when I said it in the last show was that I'm a magnet for trouble. If something bad can happen, especially if it, if a law can show up or whatever. If I'm a guy that, if I'm driving and I've got something illegal in the automobile, I will be the guy who at a red light, somebody will crawl into the back of my car, break a tail light. I will get pulled over for that tail light being out. They'll find the drugs. I'll get arrested. I mean, it was always that way. It was like I was a magnet for anything that could happen. I was that guy. And when I got out of prison the last time, I went to, and I do mean the last time, I went to a halfway house, and a couple of the guys that I worked with, we got an automobile. So that we could go to work. We would stash it because you're not supposed to have a car. So we would stash the car around the corner from the halfway house, park in a different place every night. And then we would go like we were going to the bus stop, right? Because they would give you about an hour and 20 minutes to get to work, right? To punch in. And then you were given also about an hour and 20 minutes to figure out your bus for the ride home, right? Because we were pretty good distance away. But having an automobile allowed us to love and God light coming your way. That's lovely, isn't it? So I'm out and I'm doing the halfway house venture, and we had the ability to get out of there and take off. And made it a lot more fun, right? A lot of the people in the halfway house were not having the same experience we were, because we could go shopping, we could do all kinds of other things, because we had about almost 3 hours a day to kill every day, right? That were unaccounted for, and that's still with us working a full-time job. But one night they let us off of work about 2 hours early, and now we've got a lot of time on our hands. There's enough time for mischief or whatever, and these guys were like, "Hey." For the last probably week, they had been picking up a couple of beers on the way to work. Not doing anything stupid, just drinking 1 or 2 beers. This night, they picked up a bottle of wine each, and I said, "You know what, man?" I said, "I'm probably just going to take the bus home." I said, "Unless you want me to be a designated driver, but I'm not going to ride around with you guys drinking, because I'm that guy. This thing will get pulled over, right?" And they said, "You can be the designated driver." I said, "Fantastic." They said, "We're going to this girl's house. She and her friend are hookers." He said, and there's 3 or 4 of them. He said, "We're going to go over there." I'm like, "Yeah, there is no way I'm going with you on that." And he's like, "Dude, how long have you been in prison? What's wrong with you?" I said, "I am not. There's no way." I said, "I'm that guy. I'm that guy." And this is the first time in my life, by the way, that I'm on the street and realizing that you can avoid this crap, right? You can avoid this crap. Don't put yourself in a situation where if you're that guy, right, that you can get in trouble. So I just said, "You know what? I'm not going." Did they get in trouble? Nope. They had a great night. Apparently had a ton of fun. They might not have if I was there. I'm a magnet. If I had gone, the Vice squad in that part of Oakland would have raided that house. They would have been watching it for weeks, and they would have raided it that night while I was in there, because I'm that guy, right? Now, I'm also a guy that can find myself, if something really fantastic could happen, right? But the odds are really out there, right? I'm that guy too. I'm that guy. I've been very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time many times in my life, right? And so there's a guy on the channel that you guys have seen. He's the guy that hurt my elbow in state prison. This was probably 20 years ago, I guess. Yeah, about 20 years ago. I was in prison with this guy, but when we were in there, we had a friend named Pat, and Pat put his feet on the bottom bunk, and he put his hands up here to lean forward and grab his glasses because he was playing poker and could not distinguish between aces and hearts. Kind of a big deal when you're playing poker. You know what I mean? That's one of those things you really want to be able to distinguish if you're playing that game. Flushes are a lot easier if you can't do they're all red thing. But as he's reaching for this, the bottom mattress slides toward the wall, right? And he goes backwards, and he's, grabbing for air. You've all seen the toilet setup. You've seen them in pictures, the toilet setup from prison where, "Hello, Equus, good to see you." You've got a metal commode, and you've got a little basin that's built into a little sink built into it, but it's solid steel. The entire thing is just steel, right? They don't want you to be able to break it. They don't want you to. He hit his head on that thing, falling backwards with nothing to break his fall. And he opened up the back of his head in a way that you just cannot possibly imagine. And right as this is happening, I am that guy. Like, I walked by, I didn't see the fall, but I heard it. And I walked by a split second after he hit the ground. And I went in there, and he was squirting blood. It was arterial stuff. And from more than one place, from the back of his head, he was leaking really, really badly. And by the time I got in there, and I'm not exaggerating, this was a matter of 4 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds. There was already enough blood on the floor. I mean, it was terrifying already. It really was. This dude was going to bleed out, and he was going to bleed out very quickly. So as he's sitting there on the ground doing this one, I ran up behind him and put my hand into the open wound on the back of his head. And then I kind of got him So I was holding the front of his head, and I'm talking to him, and I know the guy well. I used to call him Badger, but I was like, "Hey, Badge, you just need to chill out. You know what I mean? You're bleeding really bad." And my friend Jeffrey, the one that you've seen on the boat, came by and went, "Get out of there." I said, "What?" He's like, "Get out of there." I'm like, "He's bleeding really, really badly." He's like, Yep, I know. Get out of there." He's like, "You're in trouble already." He said, "But get out of there, run." And I said, "Yeah, I can't do that, man. You know, he will. This is really bad. Like, this is as bad as it gets." Well, somebody tells somebody, right? The alarms are going off and they're going down and locking the doors. And this is not one of those institutions where they lock on their own. A cop's got to go to every single door, right? A turnkey's got to go to every single door and open that. And when he gets to Pat's cell, there's 3 guys in it, which is not usually what they see. And the floor is just covered, right? It looks like the Manson crime scenes. And the cop just looked at me. He was like, "You need to get up and get out of that cell." I'm like, "I can't do that." I said, "If I remove my hand right now," I'm like, all this blood came from the back of his head. And he's like, "Well, what did you do to him?" I said, "Not a damn thing." And I said, "You can ask him." I said, "I'm just here to help." And he says to him, "Pat, what happened?" And Pat looks up at him and says, "Hey, there's a gun under the bed. You need to get rid of that thing before they come in here and search." And he says this to a corrections officer. "I got a gun under the bed. You need to get in there and get rid of that before they search." He was out of it. But the cop said again, "Look, man, you need to," and the cop's name was Ramph. What was that? 20 years ago. The cop's name was Ramph. And he said, "No, you know, you take your hand out of there." And I went, "Okay." And I moved my hand and it just went like everywhere, hit the walls again. And he goes, "Put your hand back." He's like, "All right, man, sit there." I said, "I didn't do this to him." He's like, "All right, whatever." They brought in the doctor and the nurse and the stretcher and all of that stuff. And I kept my hand there until the nurse got there. She put her hand in and then basically saran wrapped, like shrink wrapped her hand into the back of his dome, right? Just coming over the top and just holding her hand in there. And they lead him out. Now, I get marched down the entire tier. He was 1 cell from the last one, against the wall. So I had to walk the entire length of this thing. People on both sides looking at me covered in blood and yelling at me, "What did you do? He's your friend. What's your problem?" I'm like, "Oh, here we go." I got put under investigation for a couple of days until they realized that I had nothing to do with this. But I was at the right place at the right time. And this happens to people inside all the time. However, it doesn't happen with a cop as cool as the one that was on when I was working. They sent him an award, a commendation to say, "You know what? You saved this guy's life." Because when they got him to the hospital, he was down, like literally done, like exsanguinate. Apparently they were just pumping blood into him for about an hour to try to get, everything back up. He was in really, really tough shape. But they wrote a letter and said the cop that stopped the bleeding saved this guy's life and he should get, some recognition. And this cop, instead of just taking that recognition, which you would think the average person just might do, he said, "Oh, no, I didn't have anything to do with that. An inmate did." And he gives all of my info to these guys and he tells me about it. And he goes, "I don't think anything's going to come of it, but I put you in for an award, commendation." I said, "All right, thanks, cool." And I don't know how much time went by, but a guy comes up to me and he said, "Hey, man, they're calling you at medical." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Are you sure it's me?" At that time, my last name was Miller. It's a pretty freaking common last name, But I said, "You sure they were calling me?" He's like, "Yeah, no, they're definitely calling you." So I go down to the medical and I walk in there and I'm like, what am I doing here? And the woman goes, "I need to take a blood draw." And I said, "And why are we doing a blood draw? Did I get cough or something?" She said, "No, this is the blood draw that we do before you leave." And I said, "Well, where the hell would I be going?" And she said, "Apparently home, right to the street." And I said, "No." I'm like, "No, you're not even close." right? I'm not going home for a hot minute. I have plenty of sentence left on this, plenty of sentence left on this. And the woman goes, not my responsibility, but I'm telling you right now, your name is on this sheet and I'm taking a blood draw because it says you're going home. So I let them do the blood draw. And I go back to the cell and I'm talking to all of these guys. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And, inmate advice. I'd shut the hell up, dude. Don't say a damn thing. Let them kick you out. Why would you say a word? And other people are going, no, dude, if they let you out and you weren't supposed to leave, but you leave anyway, you could be in very serious trouble, right? They would absolutely blame you for that, not the administration or the system. I promise you would get blamed. But before the afternoon was over, I get called up to the warden's office, where there is a guy with a plaque. This little cool plaque that I got for going above and beyond the call, in spite of the fact that everybody in there has hepatitis C or HIV. I was willing to go into a cell where somebody was bleeding. So I got a cool plaque, and they said, we would like to take a picture of you with, I think it was a lieutenant governor. It was somebody from the governor's office, with me, him, and the plaque. And I went, no, there's no way. There's no way I'm getting my picture put in the paper for this. Right? Not going to happen. No offense. I really appreciate this. I don't want my picture in the paper for this. I don't. And I'd be really stoked if my name didn't go in the paper for this. This isn't something that you don't want this one on the refrigerator. Mom and dad don't have a bumper sticker that said, my kid saved someone's life at such and such an institution, right? But I said, but I appreciate it, man. I really do. And he said, and of course, you get the good time meritorious credit. And I said, run that by me again. He goes, good time meritorious credit. There are things that you can get this for. And it comes in two varieties. And one of the varieties, they kick you out the door the second it happens. However, it's usually reserved for somebody that saves an officer or does something like that, really puts himself in danger. Because if you help an officer, the inmates are going to kill you at some point. They're not going to take kindly to the fact that you helped somebody in uniform. But if you do that, they usually will try to hustle you out the door fairly quickly. But in this particular case, my meritorious credit, while only a year, was enough to kick me out because I had less than a year in. So all I had to do was wait for the blood draw to come back, and I got kicked out of prison early for being in the right place at the right time. But the punchline to this whole thing is, I got to wait for that blood draw to come through. So I go to eat chow with Jeffrey Canale, who's a crew member on the boat, right? Jeffrey comes in here all the time, clowns around. The two of us go to lunch together. We're in the chow hall, and there's an old man. We were having hot dogs, and there's an old man at the table next to us. And the guy goes, right, and grabs his throat. And the dude just starts looking purple, right? Like bad. And I look at everybody at the table. I'm like, dude, get on this, right? They let people out for this crap. Somebody jump up and give this guy the Heimlich. Like, do this quickly. And everybody just sat there. So I hopped up and I got behind this old man and just 3 or 4 really good sternum shots on the Heimlich. And this dude fires a stub of a hot dog across the table onto one of the onto one of the other inmates. Funny as hell. But when it was over, this cop comes up and he goes, "Hey, I need your name." And I'm like, "For what?" And he's like, "Look, you need to tell somebody about that, man. You just saved this dude's life." I'm like, "No, I'm not giving you my name." He's like, "What?" I said, "Nah, man, it's going to look like a hustle." I said, "I'm cool. I don't want any recognition. I don't want anything." I thought, can you imagine what would happen if that came across their desk? Hey, man, he just did the Heimlich and saved somebody in the chow hall. They'd be like, "Yeah, he's setting these things up. These things aren't real." But yeah, kicked out, and right place at the right time. And that's happened to me so many times in my life. It really has. I have always sort of just been that guy. And I think this is something that a lot of addicts find themselves in very unusual situations. The stories that I hear from people on the boat, just some of the most a lot of really interesting cats. Sadly, people that don't do everything right tend to be pretty interesting. Can you imagine going and watching a movie where the protagonist, didn't get in any trouble, right? Didn't get fired, didn't have a divorce, didn't have any arguments. No, the main character, this cat just goes to work, puts in an 8-hour day, goes home, eats, plays with kids on the weekend, does a little yard work. Can you watch that for 2 hours, right? It's not interesting. Sadly, if you live the life of drugs, there are two things that you can pretty much bet the farm were really thick in your past, right? The first of which would be drama, right? If you are addicted to anything, your life comes with a daily ration of drama. That's every single day of your life. There's going to be a certain amount of BS, things that just happen. Again, the guy that goes to work or the gal that goes to work puts in the 8 hours and then cruises on back home, does a little yard work on the weekends, right? Would you please stop that, kitty? I think she's trying to eat my headphones. That person is, not in a whole lot of danger of wildly interesting things happening. They can't, right? They can't. When there's not a lot of drama in the life of a person that does everything right, there'll be some stuff, the kid does something wrong, crashes the car, there'll be, and if you talk to those people and you said to them, if you can think back to the 5 or 6 most stressed out events that you can remember in your lifetime, a lot of them would struggle. No joke. There are people out there that would go, I don't know. I remember when Jan broke her nose, right? It's like there are people that are just blessed. There are people that did everything right and they don't have any, some of the white collar criminals on American Greed are like that. Average guy at home in the neighborhood. You would be surprised at how many times you meet somebody from that life who's just normal as hell. And it's the exact same way with addiction, right? You meet some really, really normal people. But if you start out the process of becoming addicted, normal as all get out, you're not going to finish it that way. There's no chance because it is going to bring into your life drama by the bucket load. And drama always carries with it trauma, right? Every time I talk to somebody, if I tell anybody anything, if I do an interview, if I do whatever, somebody says, you know what, you really need to write a book, right? I get this one all the time. And the cool thing is, of all of the crazy things, and for instance, saving people's lives. I'm not kidding you at all. Before we went live today, I started jotting down how many times I could remember where I actually saved somebody's life. I've told the story on here before, but in the middle of a snowstorm, I was with Papa Scoville, and the lights on the car in front of us disappeared like a magic trick. And I was like, what the hell happened to that car? And my dad was like, it had to have gone in the river. No other place it could go. So we stop in the middle of this, and I'm talking about a blizzard. Like, this is not just flakes, it's dumping. And we go over, and there's a car upside down, and the wheels are still turning. This thing has flipped over. And fortunately, right, there is a woman climbing up the bank, and we can already see her, which is good because it's dumping, right? It's nuking. So we reach down and help her up about the last 3 feet. And when she gets up and is standing right next to us on a level ground, and by the way, a trucker has now stopped and is standing with us as well, like an 18-wheeler rig kind of trucker. And he had her because he was doing the bend in the river, right? So he could see the car, going over the edge, everything. So we're sitting there. And when she gets up, she says, my baby's still in that car. Swear to God. And she says it conversationally, like I just said it. Not screaming, not freaking out. She said, my baby's still in that car, in the car seat. This car is upside down, right, in the river. And granted, it's not in the middle of the river, but the front of it is absolutely in the river. So I jump down, and the trucker comes with me, and he's a big dude. And I sort of crawl inside this thing. The kid's in a car seat upside down, right? Very young kid. And surprisingly calm, considering the fact that the kid was hanging upside down and probably had been for at least a minute, or two by then. But I couldn't get the seatbelt off. Like the thing tightened up in there, and no matter what you did. So the trucker happened to have a serrated blade on him, serrated on one side and sharp on the other. And we were able to cut the kid out and bring the kid up, stick the kid, on the side of the road next to the woman, and get in the car and leave. We didn't have a conversation with anybody. We busted out this kid, handed him off to the mother, and drove home. It was about a 5-minute detour on the side of the road. So I wrote that one down. I started going through all these. Then it occurred to me that I have brought back more people from the dead who have overdosed. There's no way I could count the number of people. And I started thinking, you tell stories like this and people are like, how is that? How could that be possible? If you do dope every day for 30 years, right? If you're doing smack for a good 30-year run, 20s, it may have been less than 30, but it definitely was like 2.5 decades if it wasn't 3. A lot of my life, close to 30 years. Over the course of that time, you're going to watch people drop. There's going to be a lot of people that do a shot that's too big. That's just the reality of it, right? That's how it works. And I was always the dude that didn't run. I always figured, and thank God that what we were dealing with was tar and not fentanyl, because I would just slap the crap out of people and cold water in the ear. On the eardrum, that one really gets people. Sternum rubs, like there's just a bag of tricks you can do to keep people breathing long enough for that initial pop to get over. And you got to keep them moving. You get them to stand up, and if you got to get a person on each side, you get them walking. And if my brother's still here, he probably remembers we were in a trailer park in Nevada once. And one of the guys that we were at this Italian dude's place, and one of the guys we were with overdosed. And we walked this guy for probably an hour and a half. Like this was an overdose. We worked on this dude for so long and kept him alive, like proudly kept this dude alive. And he managed to live for like another 60 days before that didn't work out. But yeah, so we tend to have those stories, but there's a problem for that. There's a problem with all of it. And the problem is this. I mean, aside from the fact that very often we skirt responsibility, we don't do a lot of the things that very normal people do, right? I mean, drug addicts for the most part live like rock stars without the music and the money, right? That's how a lot of people live. For real, it's just it's a blinding, drug-filled haze for a lot of people that goes on for a very, very long time. And when you're done and you pop out on the other side, and by the way, 1 million of you have sent emails that were very similar to this. Yeah, jumpstart my heart. Tim's talking about Nikki Sixx. If he didn't get a second shot of adrenaline, he wouldn't be here. I have heard that story. And the man, the myth, the chili heads, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, right. Misty Chase, no question. I could not agree more. All these good deeds are giving Tommy a new chance at life. You know what? I did these good deeds, sadly. Oh, you want to stay there? I'm sorry. I did these good deeds, sadly, while I was still really going hard. You know what I mean? I don't think I ever saved anybody's life while sober. Oh no, that's not true. I have, but certainly the number of people that I've helped, the vast majority of them were when I was wasted. I just did so much of my life that way. But one of the things that can cause this to happen. And when I tell you it's been a life of that, I remember driving by a cattle call, right? Which is an open audition. You don't need an agent. You don't need a resume. I had a resume. Like I was a guy that was already pretty into acting, but you didn't need one. Anybody can show up. And that makes auditions pretty rugged, right? Because there could be 500 people that show up. Everybody wants to be a movie star, right? So a bunch of people show up for these cattle calls. And I had my friends drop me off and they were like, dude, you're an idiot. Come on, what the hell? And I said, no, I'm doing this. And I got a part in the film. And a speaking part. When I went to audition for that, I swear to you, I walked out. And when I got home, I was talking to family members and they said, oh, you got to do that? Was it fun? I'm like, yeah, I got it. And they're like, you got the part? I said, I did. And they said, they told you already? I'm like, no, they haven't called or anything, but they're going to. And I mean, people laughed at me. I had a lot of people that were like, you're crazy. I said, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. If good or bad, right? If that lightning bolt is going to hit, it's probably going to hit where I'm standing. And I was working at the cabinet making place, and my dad drove down the hill and was like sliding sideways, And he jumped out. He goes, guess what? I said, Warner Brothers called. I got a part in a film. He said, yeah, they're going to be contacting you to set you up for costuming and all of that stuff, wardrobe. And I said, he's like, you're not surprised? I said, I'm not surprised. I'm the guy that kind of drags that stuff. But here's the problem with all of that. This is not unique to me, right? I've got a pretty interesting story, but it's not unique to me. We all have a pretty interesting story. And the addiction makes the story considerably more interesting, doesn't it? Honestly. So now you've got the main character in this story, you. And there are two constants in your life, right? Drama and trauma are the two things that you can count on. And while they suck to live through and they give people ulcers, right? And they make you look back on the years that you were struggling through those times and you just think, good God, how did I get through this? How did I get through it? Honestly, when people talk about the prison thing was the solitary confinement thing, was that tough, or all the different stuff. When you think back on it, it doesn't feel like you did a decade. It doesn't feel like 10 years of your life is gone. It doesn't. You remember, a couple of instances, and then it's over. But all of us have stories that would be very interesting to watch. Not always fun to live, but very, very interesting to watch, right? If you were the main character in this film, it makes all of us as addicts wildly unique. Aside from the fact that every single human being is unique, we are wildly unique and different from the rest of the tribe. This absolutely separates us. It can't not, right? And there's a lot that goes with that. One of the frightening things that goes through that is the question, am I different? If you start thinking about this often, right, it's usually never good, right? Because the first thing you think is, as addicts, we start thinking, am I different? I'm broken. I'm not, everybody else is normal and right, and I'm not, right? I'm defective. That is a tough thing to have tinting on your glasses with, right? If that is your frame of reference through your entire life, then you're screwed. If your point of reference is, I'm not as good as everybody else. All right, let's start the day, right? I'm defective. I hit the snooze button. Give me 10 more minutes. Get out of bed. Your feet hit the ground for the first time. They're all better than me. Every single one of them. That you cannot go out the door and live life that way. You can't. But it comes with the territory, doesn't it? And I don't just mean addiction. It comes with a lot of different territories. And we all feel deep down inside that, you know what? We were meant for more than this, right? Man, I was meant for more than this. This can't be all I was meant for, right? It tends to start making you realize that you feel like we're special, not broken. You're damn right. You're damn right. We're absolutely different. In so many ways, we're different. It does make for really interesting stories. I mean, let's be really honest. A lot of us have lived lives that are certainly different than the people that we probably grew up with. I cannot imagine Johnny and I going to a reunion weekend in my hometown. The high school that the both of us went to, that Johnny and I went to, they have a weekend once a year where they do. It's an annual thing, and they do a parade, and the floats come by, right? And each float, it'll say like, the class of 1956, and there'll be X number of people on it, right? And the very first one that goes by usually has one person sitting on top of it. He's usually about 106, and then you look at the year and you go, oh my God, the high school was built that long ago. I remember being really freaked out by how old some of the people were, but I've never gone back to one. The day I graduated, you go down the day you graduate and you're on the last float and you're usually shaffazed, right? Everybody on the float has usually had a little too much to drive. But and they're wearing cap and gowns and acting the fool, a lot of beer funneling, just stupidity. But I can't imagine going back to one of those with my brother. That would be way too weird. Want to go next year? I'll tell you what, it would be worth filming, but no, if there's one thing in the world I would not want to do, it would be that. Here's what would happen. It's like the song, Life's Been Good to Me So Far, right? You would walk around that place going, my God, look at these people. Someone would come up and you'd go, hey, what have you been doing with yourself? I'm an attorney. Yeah, I'm an attorney. Got 4 kids, That's my wife, Carol. She's over there getting a drink. What have you been doing? Same crap I was doing the last time you saw me. Right? What have I been doing? Partying, getting arrested. Let's see. I robbed a crap load of banks. Yeah, I'm going to skip that one. Johnny, I think I'll pass on that one. But, right, everybody's so different. We haven't changed a lick. I don't think I could go back and deal with that. I absolutely couldn't. But the interesting life and all of those things make you feel like you are the very center of the universe. And the biggest healing for me really started to take place when I realized that I'm not the center of the universe. For real. It may sound silly, right? But I honestly kind of believed, and I don't mean that, obviously, I didn't have a conscious thought. I didn't sit around and think, you know what? All of this is here for my entertainment or for my, but all of this is about me. I never had that as a conscious thought, but I assure you that's how I lived, right? Screw everybody else. This is about me. I really just want what's best for me. And if that comes at the expense of you or of somebody else, so be it. I'm the center of the universe and I want what's best for me, and not really what's best, but what I think is best for me, right? Because what's best for me would be to sober the hell up, right? But that's not what happens. As the center of the universe, you're special. You're different. You're different. I'm not like those other people. I hear you talking, Tommy, and I hear what you're saying. And these people, they can quit and they can do all this stuff. I'm not like them. The addiction that you guys have, it's nothing like the addiction I have. It can't be, because I'm the center of the universe. And all of you people, you're on the outside of it, right? You're just here as part of my universe. How the hell could I have the same addiction as you? Does not make any sense at all, does it? It doesn't. Not a lick. Doesn't make any sense. But when you start to realize that, I am absolutely not the center of the universe, and I'm not even special. I'm just another person born with a disease that tells you, right? The only disease that you have that literally forces you to tell yourself it's not a disease. If I walked into your house, I heard the dude from Jackass. I'm trying to remember his name. It's not Steve-O. It's somebody will put it up in the chat. He got sober. He had a very, very rugged addiction with heroin. He's very, very open, very, very, he owns his past like nobody owns his past. If Novak, I heard him doing a presentation and he said, if I went into your house and I said to you, Mr. So-and-so, you have a very serious heart condition, right? It is super serious. And they're saying this is like affect the rest of your life stuff. The following morning, you would get in a car and you would drive to the hospital. No two ways about it, right? You would be there when the hospital, first thing in the morning, sun coming up over the hill, you would be there. Hey, apparently there's something going on with my heart. I need to see a doctor, right? If somebody comes in and they say, you know what, you have a tumor, you're going to go to an oncologist as fast as humanly possible. You're going to be pissed if they make you wait in the waiting room for 30 seconds, right? March me in, man. This is life or death stuff. But if I walk in the room and I say, hey, man, that stuff you're snorting is killing you. It's killing you. And it's killing over 300 people a day in this country, every single day, 300 people a day. You're on that list. Just hasn't got to you yet, but it's going to. This stuff is poison, right? Instead of running, you have a disease. I'm telling you right now, you have a disease. It's called addiction, right? It's going to kill you. It's going to kill you. This disease. It's called addiction. I don't have a disease. I don't have a disease. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Yeah, all right. So I drink a little, whatever, but I'm no addict. We do that to ourselves for years, some of us. For years. I'll be honest. I wasn't that dude, but I was the center of the universe. Make no mistake, I was the center of the universe. And that causes all kinds of other problems. I admitted that I was addicted to drugs and that I did not have control of it. I probably admitted that, I don't know, late 20s or early 30s. I was telling people my really funny, my really funny thing. I used to say to people, I can quit anytime I want. I just haven't wanted to since 1986. And I would giggle and then I would say, and my friends would fall off, right? They was doing the same amount of drugs as me, but they would fall off. They would go get a job or do something, get married, go this way, die. Vast majority of them, right, passed away. But it was always consistent with me being there as the center of the universe. I'm different than you. Right? Drugs don't mean to me what they mean to you, right? They don't. I used to look at people and I'd go, you can quit. You can quit because it's different for you, right? You're not me. And even if I met people whose habits were close, you know what I mean? If I met a guy and he said, yeah, I'm doing 5 grams of dope a day. I don't care. If I met you and you were doing 10 grams of dope a day, right? I'm still different. I'm still special. I'm still the center of the universe. The way I was getting my dope is more this, more that. And I really got into this. This was the mindset of how I looked at everything in life, right? What tinted my life is I'm the center of the universe, right? So when my significant other started to come to the conclusion that it wasn't cute anymore, that kind of stuff. This is what happens if you live that lifestyle, especially if you're a dude. If you live that lifestyle, you're going to find people very often who realize from Jump Street that you're a drug addict, but think, I can fix him. Very often it's because they had somebody in their past, right, that they couldn't do anything about and couldn't fix, but they're going to fix you. And it's heart-wrenching because they tend to find the same kind of guys over and over again. But that's, I would end up with lovely people who wanted so badly to help me get sober. Really. No, I didn't marry bad people. I didn't. I may have turned them into bad people or certainly got them heading in the wrong direction. But I didn't marry. There's nothing wrong with anybody that I married ever. Seriously, there wasn't. They were good people. But I was the center of the friggin' universe. I'd love to be a good husband for you. I really would. But I'm the center of the universe. And if that gives me a shot at doing anything that is going to get me higher, I'm going to do it. Or if it's anything that tells me I'm not a loser, I'm going to do it. Which means if it's shagging somebody else, I'm probably going to do that. I'm going to cheat. And I'm not going to cheat because I don't love the wife, right? I love the wife more than anything. But I've got this nagging thing that says you're a loser. And it's always pitching, right? When I can get that you're a loser thing tucked below me, then I'm the center of the universe, right? I'm the center of the universe and life is perfect. But if I can't get that you're a loser thing tucked underneath me, then life sucks. And drugs can keep it down. I got to do a lot of them, but drugs can keep it down. So can sleeping with somebody that I don't know. If I can meet somebody and in 5 or 6 hours, take that person to bed, I can't really be that bad, right? Here are people that think, hey, you know what? This guy's great. I'll go home with him. And for, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days, that'll give you a blast of self-esteem that'll make you feel like maybe you're okay. The trick for all of it is to come to grips with the fact that you're not the center of the universe. You're not. You're special as hell. Make no mistake, you are. Every single human being is unbelievably unique and unbelievably special. And I bet, because you have spent a little bit of time trying to be the center of the universe, that you probably got some excellent stories. They just don't sound good with a slur on, right? And nobody wants to hear a good story if you're not out in the middle of it, right? Annette says, right, it's the I'm a loser, so what does it matter? We have all been there. There was not much that I wouldn't do as long as it told me that I wasn't a loser. That's why I ended up doing jobs like doing jobs where, you do sales and you talk to somebody and, you spend 30 or 40 minutes on the phone with somebody and they end up buying something and they buy it for $10,000 and you walk away and you go, you know what? I'm good, right? For that 2 hours, you feel like, see, I'm not a loser. Did you see that? Did you see what I just did? I did that. You just put me on the phone. I did my job. I did it in 40 minutes. I took 10 grand, right, from some poor unsuspecting slob. And I felt good about it. I really did. And it's when you are the center of the universe, what happens to everybody on the outside of that universe is really just not that important. It's really not that important. Johnny and I had a friend. Well, we still have a friend, but he's still around. But he used to say, I really only want what's best for me. He would say it out loud. It was one of his favorite expressions. What are we doing later? Well, we're talking about doing this. I don't care. I really just want what's best for me. How is this going to affect me? Like he was out there with it. He didn't care. He absolutely didn't care. But my question to you, because this is where it gets frightening, right? This is where it gets frightening. You say, well, the good news is you can get sober. You're damn right you can, right? And it's not even ridiculously hard. It's not easy, but it's not the end of the world. And it's a rinse and repeat. If you can figure out how to do it for one day, rinse and repeat. Do it the next day. All you got to do is keep doing that. And pretty soon you've linked together 365 of them and you start feeling good. Here's where we start running into trouble, though. For me, right? We'll use me as an example. Getting sober wasn't the end all and be all because the drugs were a symptom of a problem. That's not to say that I didn't have a drug problem because I sure as hell had a drug problem. But the drugs were a symptom of a much larger problem. And that much larger problem is that all of you, right, on planet Earth revolved around me. Every single one of you. People I haven't met. People I will never meet. Everybody. Everybody on earth revolved around me. It's pretty sad. It really is. However, like everything else in this entire friggin' journey, the power comes from saying, this is what I am, and I'm not doing it anymore. Right? I acted like the center of the universe for 46 freaking years, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not. It probably sounds funny, dude, doing a YouTube show and saying that, but this is just a leg of my sobriety, people. It really is. This is a huge part of my sobriety, but that's what this is, and that's what this was from Jump Street, and then it turned into something beautiful and huge. But this started as a way to keep me accountable to a bunch of people. Because if I was coming on every single day and talking about sobriety, I couldn't go get wasted and pull that off, right? That just wouldn't have worked. But in the process of getting sober and working with Q and doing all of the things that I did, I started to realize really quickly that I wasn't the center of the universe. Let me tell you something, people. Do you have any idea the pressure that takes off of you? For real. If right now you're still living in that whirlwind where you're still you got one foot in that world and one foot out of that world, and you're struggling with your chemical of choice, right? It's hard. It's difficult, to be sure. But if that's where you're at, start looking at the bigger picture, right? Because I promise you this. It's not the chemical that keeps us in that life. I know it's hard to wrap your brain around, especially if you're in active addiction, but that's not why you are getting high. You're not getting high because you like it. I thought I was. I could have passed a polygraph test if you had said to me, are you using drugs to block stuff out of your life? Are you using drugs because there's trauma somewhere in your life that you're trying to cover up, or a sense of inadequacy? If there's something in your life that you're using drugs to cover up, would you say true or false? I would have said, you are an idiot. I do this crap because it feels fantastic. Okay? That's why I do this stuff. I do this stuff because it feels fantastic. Trouble is, that's not the truth. And you figure that out really quickly when it's gone. Right? Why is all the rum gone? When the dope is gone, when there's no longer the ability to get it and do it, all of a sudden you are in a reality that many of us, the first time you come to realize for real that, you know what, man, it's humbling. It's humbling. You know, you ever play with Google Earth? Man, I love Google Earth. That is one of the coolest freaking toys that you could ever look at, man. But so you start out and you've got this globe, right? You're looking at the blue marble from outer space, and it just looks, you're familiar with it. It's our planet. And then it starts to go in. And you start making out the coastline of Maine and Florida, and you're like, okay, your eyes go right to home, right? For us, those of us here in the U.S. I know that there's a lot of people from us. And then it focuses in a little bit closer. Right? And now I'm in the Southwest, and then it focuses in a little closer until eventually it's on my street, right? And my house. And I can see the pool, and I can see the driveway, and everything is right there, right? The exact opposite thing happens, right? Picture the opposite of that. And I'm sure you've done that on Google Earth too, where all of a sudden you go from your place to, right? And everything just, until you back up and there it is. It's the earth, right? That's how I felt. I felt like all of a sudden, instead of being this all important, special as hell center of the universe, right, that all things revolved around, all of a sudden it was just a picture of the earth and I wasn't standing out too much, right? You weren't going, oh, there's Tommy. No, the earth was just doing its thing. And I came to realize that, the center of the universe went to prison. And somehow the rest of the world managed to continue to move, right? People lived, people moved on, right? Center of the universe was locked up. And for me, for a lot of the incarceration, I was still the center of the universe, which is a terrifying place to be if you're the center of the universe, right? Because if you think you're special in there, there's somebody that thinks they're a little bit specialer, a little bit more specialer. There's somebody in there ready to knock you down a peg or two, right? So I would recommend very seriously buying a notebook. They're selling them at Walmart right now, cheap. Monique Alexander told me she got one for 35 cents. I think I paid 45, but 35. These are really inexpensive. Go get a notebook. Start writing in it. There are exercises that you can do in journaling that will blow your mind. For instance, take a week or 2 weeks, whatever, and you say, I'm going to journal about somebody else, right? Every day, I'm going to pick somebody else for a week, and I'm just going to write about them. I'm going to stop thinking that every single thing has to be with me in the center of it. And when you start to concentrate on other people, when you start to listen to other people's lives, it's super, super difficult. Have you ever talked to them? You get somebody on the phone and all of a sudden they begin to talk and you could set the phone down. You could get in your car, drive to 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, right? Come home, go, oh, damn, I forgot my wallet. Go back to 7-Eleven, grab that wallet, come home, pick the phone up and go, yep, absolutely. You know what I'm talking about. ZW, thank you so much. Zen1, you're great. ZW's just been a supporter from day one, really, above and beyond the call. Thank you, Zen1. Really appreciate you. But there are people that cannot stop. They can't stop. And I was that person. I promise you I was. The lifeboat has been such a beautiful thing. It has taught me to listen to other people. It's a skill. It really is. It's also the fastest way in the world to leave the center of the universe. Stop talking and start listening. You can absolutely hop the hell out of the center of the universe. If you're sitting there listening to this and going, I am the center of the universe. That's how I've been living. How the hell do you fix it, though? I'll tell you what, shut up. Straight up, shut up. Stop talking about yourself and start listening to what people say. Start listening to other people around you. You know what's really funny? When you first start doing it, they'll go like this. What? What's wrong? For real. Because it is so out of character for you that if you just go, no, what's going on? Tell me what's happening in your life. And then you just sit there quietly and wait for them to talk. I promise you, several of the people you know are going to go, what's going on? What's up with you? I remember hearing that from so many people and thinking, good God, that's who I am, isn't it? That's who I am. They're blown away because I'm listening. Says a lot about who I've been, right? It would be a really release the Kraken. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. People, do you know what this is? This is 59 minutes and 44 seconds. We really are in the home stretch. 15 seconds left. Someone's going to laugh at that. Someone's going to laugh at that. 15-second reference. Anyone? No? You want me to help you? Hold on. 15 seconds reference? Nothing? Anyway, guess you had to be there. Guess you had to be there. You know who's going to get a kick out of that? Who's going to be seventh son? I smoked a vape once. Long story. You know what time it is, people? You know what? Has she been not working so long that no one even calls for her anymore? I hope you're happy. Do you see that? She thinks she's the center of the universe. Difference is, she is. She absolutely is. This, people, is a cat in a basket. Look at that, huh? What do you say, kitty? And now she's going to sleep all day because she's kind of become this nocturnal little thing that, you know, at night, she just wants to make my life a living hell. For real. She just likes to open and close things. Like I'll get up in the morning and I go to the kitchen and every single cupboard in the kitchen will be open. She's figured out she can open things and she just thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. Love to all of you beautiful people. Have a good day. To you as well, Annette. To you as well. Yeah, she is a good girl. She really is. The UFO cat kind of looked like that, didn't it? Alrighty, everyone. I really am out of here now. I am sure that I am going to be seeing you again at some point today. I'm sure I will, right? Absolutely guaranteed I will see you at some point today. Have an excellent day, people. And remember this. You're not the center of the universe. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but you're not the center of the universe. God bless.